office with military force. And then a group of generals came to me, and it was explained to me they were ready to conduct a coup d'etat. They were ready to move Barack Obama from office. About 3 years ago, a group of generals came to me, and it was explained to me they were ready to conduct a coup d'etat. They were ready to move Barack Obama from office with military force. And then a few weeks later, I got another call and said that they were reconsidering. You know why they were reconsidering? Because they talked to Donald Trump. And Trump agreed that he would run. And they agreed that if he would run, they would conduct their coup d'etat as a legitimate process, rooting out the traitors within government. And that pact between the military and Donald Trump has held. As we've been interpreting and watching, and Alex has been following QAnon, QAnon is military intelligence and close to Trump. And the intelligence we're getting really is a lot of the inside script. Now, everybody says Donald Trump is going to lose, he's going to be out of office, he's going to be impeached. You watch CNN, MSNBC, they're throwing a party today, and all the 20 people watching them across the nation are very enthused. Donald Trump will not be removed from office. He will not be removed from office. And in the counterattack he's going to launch, one or two facts that could change everything. Get a report from Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, who details the corruption within the Department of Justice. Donald Trump is right. Maybe we should tear down the FBI building and start over again. And if you take a look at the depth of this corruption, it's pervasive since George H.W. Bush. The bureaucrats who have stayed, including these SES bureaucrats, who are there mostly permanently, they're globalists. They don't believe in America anymore. They think they're smarter than America, smarter than the Founding Fathers. We ought to revise the Constitution. There's a very simple word that describes what they are. Traitors. Traitors. It's a capital crime. And I want to predict to you here today that when the tables turn, Donald Trump will be invoking military tribunals. And even Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama are going to be facing treason charges. It will not end, and Donald Trump will have the courage to do that. Every time it looks to me, I've said this about Donald Trump, I've known him for decades. I said, Donald Trump always looks like he's going to lose until just before he wins. Always. He's always looking like he's 1 inch from being, losing all his money. 1 inch from losing this deal or that deal. Everything Donald Trump has done in his life has been a success. And in the final game of this, I think Donald Trump will reduce the bureaucracy. I'd say 95% would be good, maybe 100%, because the bureaucracy isn't specified in the Constitution. There's no discussion. There's no article about the bureaucracy, which means it can all be removed. Fire them all. Good. And I think what we can have is a rebirth, as we say, of freedom in this country. But I want to say 2 or 3 things about Zuckerberg. someone has come forth as a Silicon Valley insider anonymous and has been writing me extensive emails, which I've now been able to validate. And the story of Zuckerberg and the others is this. Facebook, all of the major ones, Twitter, YouTube, Google, every single one of them is a creation of the CIA. They were funded by the CIA, wow. And they were there. And by the way, they are all considered dispensable. Zuckerberg may not realize it, but he's in the ejection seat. The button will be pushed and he'll be ejected out. But the real power in Silicon Valley is the infrastructure of the internet. It's the oracles. It's the Microsofts, the Sun Microsoft systems. These are the tracks, the railroad tracks on which the internet runs, the bridges, the infrastructure. And the people who are really controlling Silicon Valley are the Larry Ellisons. These are the people you know less about because they're not the front men. You know, Zuckerberg is dispensable. Eric Schmidt is dispensable. Google is dispensable. They'll just replace it with another one. Because the real godfathers are the Larry Ellisons and the others. And who funded Larry Ellison? The CIA, the military-industrial complex, moving in with Lockheed and the others wanting the creation of a new generation of electronic hardware for the military. And the process, and that started going back into the 50s. What happened is along the way, they realized with social media, they could create something where we would all give them all of our information freely about everything about ourselves. People even post pictures of themselves naked, which they keep forever. Every click you make is going right into the intelligence agencies. And then that data is being profiled and given to the New World Order. Sold for money, for advertising and marketing. And by the way, Zuckerberg may have his own rules and his own way to protect privacy, but don't for a minute think that they aren't still collecting the information. They've got it all. It's archived. It's every phone call you've ever made, every email you've ever made. And people are stupid enough to put these devices in their homes, which can record everything they say. Facebook can track you even if you're not a member of Facebook. They can all do all the tracking anywhere you appear on the internet, and that stuff is archived forever. What we've got to do is we've got to reclaim the internet. We've got to have an internet Bill of Rights, as it were, to impose First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment. We've got to do this through Congress, and I'm here to tell you that before Donald Trump is done, the internet will be 100% regulated, or it will be broken up. Because Donald Trump understands the threat to our freedom. The threat to our freedom every one of us face with this information is so massive control that never occurred to George Orwell or Aldous Huxley that this could happen. But I'm here to say that in conclusion of all this, the same conclusion in the book I've just written in Killing the Deep State, it ends, in the end, Donald Trump wins. And never forget that in the end, God wins.
Captain in Opelika, Florida. A word from the United States Coast Guard, Captain in Opelika, Florida. A word from the United States Coast Guard, Captain in Opelika, Florida. You didn't hear it from me, but 100% official that we are apparently about to go to war. The United States Coast Guard is deployed at the South China Sea. Again, this is not just word of mouth. This is coming from a captain at the base over here down in Miami. Yeah, that was just given to me about 5 minutes ago. I'm currently driving, so please circulate this around with all the fellowship people that we know, and keep it discreet, because, obviously thinking stuff like that, I don't want to get in trouble, but, yeah.
Here's what's going on. We We are at a state of war with China. Full-scale war. The threat from China is imminent and serious. So here's what's happening. 192,000 arrest warrants have been issued. The military is now fully operational.
We are apparently at war with China, and there's going to be a very serious, it's going to be made to look like a nuclear scare, I guess, but it's not really going to have any nuclear fallout. But apparently the United States is going to, or maybe already has, dropped the rods of God, if you know what those are.
Yeah.
If China is going to respond with war, what we expect is that the US will respond with an attack with the rods of God to take down the nuclear weapons of the CCP. This is necessary to take all the evil down, and North Korea is already on board with Trump.
Yeah.
Hang on, Danielle. Be a little bit more specific.
Okay.
What are you? What I heard was that we're talking non-nuclear weapons here, aren't we?
What I heard is that under the Three Gorge Dam, China still has a lot of nuclear weapons.
Right, I beg your pardon. They're not neutron. They're not neutron weapons under the dams, are they?
I'm not sure. And my information says that that's why the Three Gorge Dam has to be taken down, because it's connected to Wuhan, to all the evil laboratories, to all the human trafficking that comes from Wuhan via the Silk Roads.
I totally agree. What I'm saying is that I don't believe that they are nuclear weapons under there, because that would create an enormous fallout cloud. I think what I understand is it's a virus laboratory like we have in Portadown in Britain, and that there's an underground city where people are being experimented on. And what concern for me is whether the neutron bombs, which were outlawed, but we know most major places have them, whether they were stored there as well. I just wondered if you had any intel on that.
What I heard is that there are still weapons under there that have to be taken down, and they're going to be using the rods of God.
I just got word from the United States Coast Guard captain in Opelika, Florida. You didn't hear it from me, but 100% official that we are apparently about to go to war. The United States Coast Guard is deployed in the South China Sea. Again, this is not just word of mouth. This is coming from a captain at the base over here down in Miami.
And I mentioned to you yesterday that Israel and the U.S. had coordinated a large-scale attack on Iran-backed militias there inside of Syria. And Amman is also reporting that. Let's see, they actually reported it yesterday. I don't know if any of the mainstream media is reporting this as of yet. I haven't really seen anything that myself thus far, but said the head of the Israeli National Security Research Institute, Major General Amos Yadlin, said that behind its bombing of Syria's Azor Governorate, Tel Aviv wanted to convey a message to Iran. In a statement to Israel's official Khan news channel, Yadlin said that the attack carried out by Israel and Azor Governorate is important, and the message to Iran that Israel will not stop working against Iran and Syria even during the era of U.S. President-elect Joe Biden. So that's the message that is being conveyed over to Iran as they continue their strikes inside of Syria there. And according to one Israeli journalist, said that it's the largest attack Israel has done since 2018. And when he gave me the report that he had 54 had been killed in that airstrike. From what I was understanding there. Also, Sputnik was reporting the U.S.-Israeli intelligence reportedly closely coordinated massive airstrikes on Syria. That's where it also kind of shows the U.S.'s involvement. I had one source also confirming that the U.S. was involved in those airstrikes as well. So something that still I have not found any article that supports that, but that's what we were being told, that the U.S. was involved in the airstrikes that were going on inside of Syria. Just as a reminder, though, General Wesley Clark and what he said, and I'll play that little clip there for you. I think it's always a good
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon. I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me. And one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you gotta come in. You gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to...
So you got to go, as he goes on into this here, he talks about that they were going to take down 7 nations in 5 years.
He said, "I just got this down from upstairs from the Secretary of Defense office today," and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me."
All right, see, and finishing off with Iran. I think that's where we're headed to as of right now. They're getting ready to finish off with Iran. And of course, they claim that Joe Biden would not be supportive of that. So it's kind of interesting how things are changing, even on the ground. This here came out from Amman News as well. Large U.S. military convoys enter Syria from neighboring Iraq. Says here that U.S. convoys seen entering northeastern Syria on Wednesday, marking the second time in 5 days that an international coalition has brought in reinforcements and supplies. According to local reports, dozens of U.S. military trucks and vehicles entered Syria's Al-Hasaq governorate via the Al-Wadi crossing that links the Levantine nations with Iraq's Nineveh governorate there. So the U.S. convoy was said to have consisted of several vehicles that was transporting both troops and supplies, primarily military logistics, to one of their bases inside the Syrian territory. But notice it is troops as well that were being brought in. So it's not that there's a scale down in this area, but a build-up. And Secretary Pompeo putting out this tweet here: "I traveled to the KSA, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Morocco, and Sudan, all with one goal in mind: peace." Well, these are the allies that would actually help carry out a war in that region. Why Sudan? Because of Yemen. All right. Why Morocco? Different issue altogether, but Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, KSA, all these countries right here. Why these countries here? Because they would actually help spearhead a war against Iran. And of course, the intelligence we were getting from Iran is that if Iran goes down, one thing they would still be able to carry out would be the attack that would destroy Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates would be their target. And then confirming that, also out of Washington, they included Qatar as what Iran would try to take out, because as they said there in Washington, that they are considered traitors by Iran, and therefore those nations would be taken out of the scene there. So anyway, Pompeo is also now alleging that Al-Qaeda has a new home base in Iran, which is kind of odd, because it seems like U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia, Turkey are all been backing Al-Qaeda inside of Syria to try to overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. So now playing the card that Al-Qaeda has a new home base in Iran, and then linking that to the 9/11 incident, which everybody knows more about what that incident really is kind of interesting. But Iran is not backing down. Iranian militias respread in Syria after the Israeli raids. At least 57 pro-Iranian fighters were killed in the Israeli airstrikes on the area from Deir ez-Zor to Abu Kamal Desert there. That's the report that is coming out on this Arabic, alarabia.net. And Israel also was reporting 54 deaths through the sources that we have out of Israel there. So a lot of strange things happening. Now, this particular video here I thought was of interest as well. This is the Iranian military right here, and they're flying above as they're doing their naval drills. And I don't know how well you can see this below there, but that is the USS Georgia. Look at the length of that submarine passing up underneath that. There's a little boat right there, but that's the USS Georgia right there passing underneath. Massive U.S. submarine, and it is equipped with 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles there that are also nuclear capable. This was right at the Strait of Hormuz. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and we're going to be trying to cover as much as we possibly can. I think there are certain things that they just don't want you to know about right now. So, you know, got to keep that in mind. We're trying to sort things out. There's a lot of weird things going on, so we're trying to sort out a lot of things because different intel is reporting different issues right now, and I'm just going to try to wade through all this to see what we can figure out. This article here on Real Raw News comes out. Marine Corps rebukes Pelosi, "We don't work for you." That was an interesting thing there. Said a Pentagon source speaking under promise of anonymity told Real Raw News that Pelosi contacted General Berger late Monday night, and she beseeched him to commit 5,000 troops to help ensure peaceful transition of power and to prevent a repeat of January 6th siege on the Capitol. General Berger, our source, didn't understand why Pelosi needed additional soldiers to augment an already impressive force assembled by the federal and state officials. That force included 15,000 National Guard from D.C., Delaware, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and underscored the number of FBI DHS agents who arrived in D.C. Sunday night. Pelosi said she wanted battle-ready reinforcements because of radicalized Trump supporters and kooky QAnon conspiracy people were about to converge on D.C. She implored him to reconsider, arguing that it was the general's patriotic duty to quell uprisings and guarantee Biden's ascension to the Oval Office. Her statement made the general explode. Our source said, "Don't lecture me on patriotism, Madam Speaker. I've served this country with distinction for 40 years. I've spilled blood for our nation. What have you, a self-serving elected official, done for your country?" General Berger said. Pelosi further enraged him by saying he was answerable to Congress. "I only answer to the president. I understand it. Donald J. Trump is still president and commander-in-chief. Abide in the Constitution as it is written, not your interpretation of it," General Berger admonished Pelosi. Quoting of the source, when her intimidation tactic failed to sway the General Berger, Pelosi tried a different tactic, begging and flattering. At any rate there, it's very difficult to know exactly what's going on, friends. I think the situation is very fluid right now. And I'm also wondering, even if some of the things that we have lately reported is to try to keep the people more calm so that the people don't try to take matters in their own hands. So that I could probably understand. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. We will follow the things, and I think more so as things play out, then we can kind of get a better idea of what's going on and see what's going to happen there. The situation, I think, though, in Iran is very explosive right now as well, and about the only way I can see the U.S. really getting into a war with Iran before Trump leaves office is in the event that some type of strike is made on U.S. troops. So that's a very big concern for me as well. But anyway, Pompeo's definitely already gearing up, though, that support. And so I just a suspicion. Can't say this is the case, but just a suspicion. I have a feeling something's going to go down. I'm Steve Bennett with Israeli News Live. Good day.